really interesting, really, how can I say, taxing, but at the same time, it's very rewarding. Again, I love it. I wouldn't want to do anything else, to be honest. I just enjoy, trying to help raise some of these young men and young women who don't have the, I guess, the leadership that they might, I should have at home. And it's just one of those things where, when they come to the school, I get a chance to teach them all that I know, everything that I can possibly put into them to, help them become civil citizens or, graduates. And even for some of those students who say, Mr. Shropshire, I don't know if I want to go to college. Okay. All right. Well, let's figure something out then. Let's figure out what you can do, other than, being in somebody's classroom. And I tell them all the time, you're full of talent. You are full of talent. And it's just one of those things where I've been doing this, like I said, for 23 years, and I am all about breaking down stereotypes. I am all for my people as much as I possibly can. And I am definitely for the youth. I've run, several mentor programs and, looking to start up a few other ones. And as long as I can get to the youth and try to help them as much as possible, I'm okay. I've been blessed. My family's been blessed. I have two beautiful, highly intelligent daughters. My wife, I am fine. Now it's just one of those things where I want to get out into the public and be in the forefront, of some things.
So one thing, the reason why I wanted to bring it on, and we have a lot of things going on, as we know that the trauma that's being inflicted on Black America, that's keeping them held within themselves for not to expand themselves. That is a problem. And I wanted Dr. Fraser to talk about, there's a lot of people who are confusing Black America with other verbiage like Larry Elders of the world and the different talking heads. How do we get around when people don't understand what is trying to split Black America so they don't become wealthy and independent? Please.
Doc, that's a deep question. We could probably spend the rest of this Zoom call answering this question. It's a very, very important question. So I'm going to speak truth to power.
Right.
Straight, by all means.
Straight, no chaser.
That's all.
I was born and raised in Bed-Stuy in Brooklyn, New York. And they say if you're from Bed-Stuy in Brooklyn, New York, you're either a thug or a gangster. I'm a gangster. You're going to find out in a minute. Right?
Yes, sir.
And Ms. Curry, I want to compliment what you said by helping you to know that I am a licensed insurance agent, and I am a certified financial education instructor as well. So
Awesome.
I'm feeling what you're doing, and
Thank you.
Dee, I love what you said. It is all about the youth.
Yes.
Right. It is all about the youth. So let me just get right to it, and again speak from my heart. And again, I don't bite my tongue. Anybody that has ever seen me speak, if you've seen my speeches on YouTube, you know I say what I feel and what I know as an elder. So let me just say, sometimes the light at the end of the tunnel is a train, and every cloud does not have a silver lining. Sometimes it's hiding a tornado. Okay.
That's true.
All of the problems are not opportunities. So we need to wipe that smile off of our face collectively as Black people, take off our rose-colored glasses and get a grip on our current reality, as you so beautifully articulated and outlined, Dr. Dyer. Right? Things in our world of wealth and economic development are simply crap. And it's going to take a realistic view and some hard work to fix it. I say about 100 years, another 3 to 5 generations. White household wealth is 20 times the size of Black household wealth. Median household net worth in America, there is a great divide. For example, in Boston, the median household net worth is $8 for Black people, and it's $251,000 for white people. Now, we can go on and on and on with those statistics. Everybody watching, everybody sitting here on this illustrious panel know the reasons.
Right.
There are historic reasons, systemic reasons. Let's say that's number one. Number two, we are a financially illiterate people. We are at the bottom of every single economic statistic that matters in America. And over the last 50 years, the state of our wealth has gone backwards, right? And we have, as Black people, some bad ass habits. We do.
Yes.
We have let me give you just 2 simple badass habits we have that is facilitating this level of illiteracy. First, Black people are addicted to instant gratification versus delayed gratification. Let me say that differently. I would rather carry,
the knucklehead. That's what my senior people used to call me. Don't be a knucklehead.
Don't be a knucklehead. That's right. So let me say it differently. I would rather carry a plastic bag with $5,000 in it than to carry a $5,000 Louis Vuitton bag with $100 in it. You're a knucklehead. Okay? You ain't winning. Louis Vuitton is winning.
Right.
Armani is winning. Gucci is winning. Nike is winning. Your Black ass ain't winning. Okay? It's a badass habit that we have. We are addicted to instant gratification versus delayed gratification. We all know the deep-seated reasons for that. And we are addicted to television. There's a major study that came out last year by the AC Nielsen Corporation, and it studied the television viewing habits by racial group, cultural group. And it came out that Black people watch 72 hours of television a week. That's 10 hours of television a day. Any Negro watching 10 hours of television a day needs their ass kicked.
Yep.
You're sleeping 8 and you're working 8 and you're watching television for 10, right? It is no wonder you are in the state that you are in. Finally, on this point, and then I'm going to pass the mic, we must stop being, Dr. Dyer, spectators to success. Being angry is not a business plan.
No. And being hopeful ain't one either.
That's
right. We need strategy and not just emotions. We need to be focused on personal growth and development, lifelong learning, and constant never-ending improvement. And that intelligence has to be, part of that intelligence has to be economic intelligence, wealth intelligence, right? Socrates said it best, and I'll close with this thought. Socrates said that the only good is knowledge and the only evil is ignorance. The Bible tells us this more succinctly in a way that we all know and we have all heard and we all understand, and we repeat it over and over and over. The Bible, and that's Hosea 4 verses 6, my people perish for the lack of knowledge. Now, we hear this all the time. What we don't hear is the rest of that sentence.
Right.
Here's the rest of the sentence. My people perish for the lack of knowledge. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I also reject you.
Yeah.
You shall be no priest to me. This is God saying to his people, if you reject knowledge, if you reject personal growth and development, lifelong learning, and constant never-ending improvement, especially in the area that is going to have the greatest impact on the life of you, your children, your family, wealth, right? I reject you. I reject you.
And with that, and that's one of the things when people don't understand how they are rejecting themselves, the light that's within themselves, the educating for themselves, they not only tear down themselves emotionally, physically, and spiritually, but they tear down their communities because they are so broken.
That's right.
Demetris,
right, Doc. That's right. Let me say that differently. That's beautiful. We are not suffering because we cannot resolve our problems.
No.
We are suffering because we cannot see our problems clearly and succinctly. We have been hurt more by what we don't know than by what we can't do. Okay? We have to fix this.
D, go ahead, because you're busting at the seams.
Man.
We're trying to hold our mule. We're trying to hold our mule, D.
I'm sorry, man. I'm taking it all in, and I'm just, putting the oil on me, man. Man, and that's the kind of stuff that I'm trying to get across to these babies in these schools and so forth. That wake up. You guys are so focused on who has the newest phone, who's wearing a Louis Vuitton belt, and who's got these Jordans on and all this other good stuff. Don't you understand? They're making the money off of us.
That's right.
We are consuming everything that they can possibly put out here for us. Keeping us, just throwing the blanket over our eyes. And I'm in the school system and I see it. They are so, I love these babies. I love them to death. And it's not all of them, please don't get me wrong, but it's a good share of them.
I have two charter schools. I have two charter schools. I have two charter schools in the hood. I've had them for 17 years. So I feel your pain.
Yes, sir.
300 Black children, 15 years in a row, 60% of Black boys. I see what you are dealing with, right? And what you can do? You can trace it right back home.
That's right. That's right. Indeed, that's the thing. That's just the thing. What you're talking about right now, I am a mother. I am a wife for years, and I can tell you that what you're talking about right now starts at home.
Yes, ma'am.
If they don't have, and my mom is one of those things. See, I grew up with a single mother, right? My mom is a survivor of domestic violence. We jumped from city to city, house to house. So for her, it was a survival thing. So learning in that atmosphere, learning how to deal with monies was a struggle.
Yeah.
It was a struggle of how do we eat and pay the light bill?
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying? So when you have that type of atmosphere, and some of our children are going through that right now. Yes. And so they're going through that right now, and they don't understand the whole logic of you have to learn how to save for a rainy day. You have to learn how to put 10% to the side. You have to learn how to make sure that when you grab $20 and $30, you don't add it up to go buy some Nikes. You don't go add it up to go buy a Louis. You don't add it up to go get those red bottoms. You don't go put $200-300 on your new weed. You don't do all that.
And it's okay to be without.
You can't be without. But like Mr. Fraser was saying, that in that instance of wanting to have that early self-gratification, the strategy of how to have a retirement is gone. The strategy of how to have income to pass to your children is gone. How to be able to have your grandfather and great-grandfather on the wall and say they gave us this and they gave us that. That's gone because they didn't have those to pass down. So now we're in a situation now where we're teaching our youth and teaching even our adults. I have to basically sit down with our adults right now and say, okay, we're going to do what we call a suitability analysis before we do any type of structure. And let's see what's suitable for you. And so when we sit down and we look at your assets and your liabilities, and we look at what you got in your savings and what you got going out on your mortgage and all those things. All right, let's look at that discretionary income. Do you have any discretionary income? And if you don't have any, where is your money going? So I always start off with, you may not like me at the end of this conversation because I'm going to tell you where you're wrong at. And
Yes.
you are telling me that you want to retire at 65 and you want to retire at 70. At your current strategy, it's not working.
It's not working.
And that's what we need to start, because our kids gather that from what our parents are doing.
Before we came on air, I had asked Demetris, and I said, I had asked a couple of Black people, do they know what the S&P is? Do they know what the Dow is? And they have no clue. So when America is talking about the Dow Jones is up and it's down, the S&P is fluctuating, they don't know how that's affecting them in their jobs. They're like, well, I didn't get a raise, so how is it gone up for me? How do we explain that to Black America when they have never been taught?
One of the things that you have to understand about when you learn about markets, when I went to finance school, I went to business school, I have these degrees, and that was one of the things they didn't teach us. Right. They didn't really teach us the fundamentals of how to actually invest. You know, how do you use the market in your favor? How not to use the market? How to protect against risk? What was risk management and what it really meant? What they did teach us supply and demand very well. But we didn't get that, how to use the market. What is a S&P? What does it even stand for?
Right.
You know, all of that, the Dow Jones, what that even stands for. So for me, what I had to do is I had to do some education on my own. I had to go in and do some extra reading, pick up a book. I had to learn some things. I had to do some strategic idea planning. Oh, I want to learn this part of the market. I want to learn the Forex. I want to understand how to do, you know, currency exchange from one country to another. How can I make that benefit? And how can I protect my assets? Part of that is additional education outside of what they're going to put in the books for us to learn. We're going to have to do those conferences. We're going to have to gather in our community even our church families. It starts there. When you can get into the church family and get some financial structure and some literacy and some teachings right there and bring in all that knowledge right there, it will dwindle down from that point.
So, and the reason why I brought Dion, being an educator in DC and working with these Black boys, and he is working his tail off. I got to say this publicly. I wrote Cycle with DC, with D the other, but when did we ride together? A week ago, D? Week and a half?
A week. Yes, a week ago.
This big man rolled me into the ground, man. I tell you, so, you know, woo, I gotta say, hands, man, what a beautiful ride. But D was educating these Black boys. How can you get this education that Dr. Fraser and Demetris is talking about into their brains when they just don't want to hear you? That's our problem. That is our juggernaut.
I'm gonna say this, just like that ride, and again, you know, what did I say to you? Excuse me for not, you know, having a conversation. I'm focused right now. You know, that was my whole thing. You know, when I step foot into that school, if I'm dealing with a student, I'm focused. It's laser pinpoint, you know, because I have to deal with every student differently. You know, there's some young men who may not have the father in the house. There's some young men who may not have the mother in the house and so forth. I mean, the stuff we've already heard, but each child has their own set of things going on with them, you know, and it's one of those things where I say to myself, you know what, I'm determined to get to the core of what's going on, and whatever I have to do, if I have to go, you know, and I always carry my iPad with me or some sort of, you know, technology to try to help these young men. And it can be some students who they might not even speak English. You know, some of my young Latino students, and we have that language barrier. I will pull up Google Translate. Now we can go, you know, now we can communicate. So now I can find out what's going on with you.
Well, hold on, Demetris. Dr. Fraser, when you talk about several generations before we come out of this debt, out of this, and then you have this form that came out with reparations with Black America. I'm sure you probably read the paperwork with Ice Cube at the, and I want to get your thoughts on that. But then when you hear the political rhetoric and you having a charter school, our charter schools, our schools are about ready to be kicked.
Mm-hmm.
So where do we're so, the people who are on panels, discussions, we don't know where to start collectively. And I think that's where another one of our problems is. How do we pull together collectively to head this train down the right tunnel?
Boy, Doc, you ask great questions.
Mm-hmm. Yes, he does.
He does.
That's a great question, because I wrestled with that. And I've been serving our people for 40 years. 40 years ago, I was writing about financial illiteracy, but I was just writing about it, and I was speaking about it. I was not doing anything about it, just pontificating ad nauseum about our issue. And then I had an awakening. Maybe it was God talking to me in a dream. And I said, okay, if financial illiteracy is such a huge problem, because everything begins with education. What is the first thing slaves did when they became free? They began building small classrooms, then building small schools. And within 100 years, we had an entire system of historically Black colleges and universities. So everything begins with education. So if financial illiteracy is a huge problem, this is George talking to George, then we must develop a system that will deliver financial education to our people. Because white people will not be saving Black people. I hope everybody here understands that, right?
No.
White people are not even thinking about Black people. Who are white people thinking about? They're thinking about white people. They're thinking about their husbands, their wives, their children, their businesses, their schools, and your pockets. They ain't thinking about you. They're not helping you. It is not in their best interest to make us highly competitive to them. Okay, because every place that we have been given an opportunity where the field is level and the rules are clear, whenever we have been given that opportunity, not only have we competed, we have dominated, we have changed the game on them. All right, so they're not going to fix the financial illiteracy in the context of our community. They don't teach it in schools for a reason. I didn't learn anything about money throughout my entire education. It was not on the agenda, right? Now, who was controlling the agenda of my learning? White people, right? Now, so I decided that I would put together a system of financial literacy, brand it, we call it WINS, Wealth Building Centers and Curriculum, develop my own curriculum, a 75 module curriculum of everything you ever wanted to know about financial education, but was afraid to ask, and then embed it, install it in the historically Black church. Why the Black church, Dr. Fraser? Because the Black church is the most powerful, the most important, the most invested, the most involved institution, and the richest institution in our entire culture. This is where Black people gather, and it is a top-down institution. When the pastor says, this is what we're going to do, we're going to talk about financial education, because there are 2,300 references to financial matters in the Bible. 8 of Jesus's 39 parables were about economics and financial matters, right? We're going to talk. So when the pastor says that, that's what the church does. There are 85,000 Black churches in America. About 10,000 of them have wealth ministries. I've spoken in about 120 of those wealth ministries over the years, and they needed to be upgraded, right? They'd had no curriculum. In many cases, the people running those ministries had no license in any financial service in America, right? So in many cases, we had the blind leading the blind. So I said it's time to upgrade that, to standardize that process and procedure, and to embed it at a very low cost to the church. So that's where we begin. You have to begin with financial education because they're not getting it at home. Most of our children are not getting it at home. If it was not for Dee talking about it to his kids, they probably wouldn't learn anything about it, right? So we have to do it. It's outside intervention. In many ways, and I say this metaphorically, we have to go into many of our homes and kidnap the kids mentally. Right, that's what we have to do. And we take on the responsibility of teaching them because they're not going to get it at home.
It's true.
Right.
If they were getting it at home, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Jewish people get it at home.
They do.
When they sit around the kitchen table, I've been in many of those kitchen tables, they are talking about business and money. They're not talking about what the latest dress that the sister's wearing on Real Housewives of Atlanta, right? They don't care about that.
They're
right?
talking about stock.
They're getting it at home.
Splitting and
Right. We're not getting it at home. That means that Miss Curry and Dee and I and you, Doc, we have to do it. We recognize that the problem is there. We recognize that it's not being solved at the level that it needs to be solved, in the ways in which, in the trajectory that it needs to be solved. Therefore, we have to intervene. So it's Dee's job, it's Miss Curry's job, it's my job, it's your job, and it's the church's job.
But the churches have failed us in a lot of ways because of that.
Don't get me started on that.
They have failed us. They have dropped the ball.
If they taught financial education and literacy like they teach the Bible, we would be more brilliant and more successful than our Jewish brothers and sisters.
Thank you.
Right.
And Dr. Dyer, one of the things that I've noticed, and just in working with several of the people in the community, is that like Mr. Fraser just said, they don't have the resources in the church to actually teach it as they should have. Or they have the people in the church that have maybe some of the know-how, but don't want to take the responsibility of teaching those.
Wait a minute,
Mrs. Curry, that's it right there.
How do you not say I am this under the Lord's eye and not want responsibility?
It happens every single day. When we did the Wealth with a Vision tour this year, from city to city finance teaching in Alabama, we went from city to city, just teaching on health and finance and wealth and insurance. And what we learned, and from going from city to city, is the people that were in that audience was asking questions, basic questions, guys, how to balance a checkbook. How to actually, learn how to do just the basic things. What is term life? What is whole life? What is index life? What do I do about my 401k? It's going upside down with this whole situation with coronavirus. What do I do to protect? I lost $15,000, $20,000 already just in my 401k. What do I do? It's the simple things that they're not getting because they don't have it implemented. So what, like you just said, what we have to do is what we're doing right now, educating, telling them exactly where they're missing the ball. This is where you need to start. When we do the Wealth Wednesday teachings every Wednesday, I tell them, I say, hey, look in your own house. There is money in your house. You know how I know it's in your house? Because you got 200 channels on your cable bill. Don't get me started. You got money in your house because you have 5 cell phone bills and they all Apple.
Right. That's right.
And somebody paid $1,000 each for each of those phones. Am I not right?
That's
so
right.
You have the money in the house. It's about how you're spending. It's the allocation of where your money is going. If you are spending $200 on shoes and $500 on the outfit, you can't tell me that you can't put $300 in your savings account. You put money in the purse. Not on the purse.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
Absolutely.
And I'm sorry, I get passionate about that thing. You don't do that to yourself. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's all right.
We have a K through 12 curriculum, and we have financial curriculum that we have installed in our charter schools. So it is required that all of our 300 students, right, get certified in the 16 lessons out of that K through 12, and it's age appropriate. If they're going to graduate from our charter school, they must get certified in financial education and pass an exam after taking 16 classes on it.
That's awesome.
Okay?
That's powerful.
That's awesome.
One, well, I have two questions. Mr. Fraser, hey, after this conversation, or I would love to talk to you about where I can get that, so I can implement this into my school somehow. Yeah. And Ms. Curry, you mentioned that they don't have the resources. In your financial eye, what would that look like as far as, because I'm just trying to see what my school might have, and if somebody's just letting it sit over there in that corner, I will go and get it and use it to its best benefit.
So you're in a charter school at this time, right?
No, ma'am. I'm actually in a public school. I started my whole career in a charter school. I worked for 2 charter schools prior to, and now I'm back in the public school realm. But you know, education is education. We got to get this thing done.
And see, in public school finance at that grade level is not required. It's not required that they teach on financials. Okay?
No, ma'am.
Which it should be required.
You're right.
Okay, it should be required. And so because it's not required, there is so much in between. You know, my son is 11 years old, and he asked me, he said, Mama, when am I ever going to use this logarithm? You know what I mean? When am I ever going to use this just algebra? What they need to implement at this point is to be able to put certain things in school that is basic, like, you know, balancing a checkbook is one thing. They need to have that in there. You know, I realize that a lot of parents don't have that at home to teach the kids. So for me, what I do when I sit down with my clients, I make sure I sit down with their kids.
Yeah.
Right. That's so important.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that I do as a resource.
It's powerful what you just said.
Yes.
Because you can't teach what you don't know.
What you don't know.
You can't give what you don't have.
Exactly.
And most of these parents, again, I talk to them all the time, and they don't know. They don't know. They could be in the class taking the K through 12 financial literacy program right along with their children. They just don't know.
That's right. And the only thing that the schools can do on a public finance, Dee, to answer your question about the public finance and what they can do, is having someone in the school on a public level that's in the math area.
Yes,
maybe someone is teaching math, to teach those basic things, those basic fundamentals that they would need to know when they first get their first job at the age of 16. You know, what does taxes look like? You know, how do you put a couple of dollars away? Put that percentile to the self savings, how to start saving at the age of 16 when you get your first job. That kind of thing should automatically be part of the high school, junior high, going into high school curriculum, getting them ready for being able to use income. Because what we are taught, and quite honestly, and let me be frank when I say this, what we are taught is how to actually consume. We are not taught how to have.
No.
And so that's where the problem lies, is that they want us to be consumers and to buy, not to actually own.
Right.
There are 2 classes in America. There is the consumption class and the merchant class.
Exactly.
We are the consumers. They are the merchants. They make stuff. We buy stuff. And we have been trained that way. And one of the problems with watching 72 hours of television a week, Dr. Dyer,
that's it,
is that you are exposed to 1,100 commercials.
Yes.
You know what commercials are called? You know what stuff on television is called? It's called programming. We are programmed to consume.
Stay right there.
Right? That's what we're right. When you watch 72 hours of television a week and you watch 1,200 commercials,
you are
programmed to consume.
Yes.
Who's producing those commercials? The merchant class.
So
and they repeat after a certain amount of hours to actually keep it back in your brain. Oh, I want that Big Mac. Oh, I need some pair of shoes. So it repeats on purpose to keep it
That's
in the
right.
forefront of
That's
the frontal lobe. Absolutely.
So the things I teach is neuroscience, right? And education, how the brain works and how you're being programmed and how to get out of your own way emotionally and stop thinking that you're angry, mad, and mischief, like these people who are looting their own stuff, wrecking their own stuff. But Dr. Fraser, they're getting this emotional disturbance from historical systematic issues, and they're getting it from these candidates that's supposed to be talking to America, and they're only inciting them. What's the way that we can get away from the incitement of our own way so we can get into financial wealth, spiritual wealth, soulful wealth? We are depleted as a people.
Yes, but Malcolm told us 40 years ago. He said that black people are being tricked and bamboozled.
Yeah.
So let me say that.
Yeah.
Let me say that a different way. I had a very, very close friend who was an alcoholic, and I had to do an intervention, me and a couple of friends on him. And when you do an intervention on an addict, you essentially commit to going through the program. It's a 12-step program with them. It's probably one of the smartest things I ever did, because I learned the single most important and the first step in the 12-step program. And the first step in the 12-step program is simply this. In order to become sober, you must first admit that you're a drunk. In other words, in order to resolve our problem, we first have to admit that we have a problem.
That's right.
So we have to keep saying, you have to keep doing and keep zooming, and D, you have to keep doing what you're doing. Now, not only you, but we need you by 100.
Yes, sir.
And keep articulating that we have a problem, that we are in an existential crisis, brothers and sisters. And until Black America puts Black America first, Black America will always be last. That black and beautiful means nothing in this world unless you're black and powerful. You cannot be black and proud and niggas too. You can't.
Yeah.
White folks are planning for 3 generations, and we're planning for Saturday night. Right. It is interesting to me that the rich stay rich by pretending to be poor, and the poor stay poor by pretending to be rich. We got it twisted.
That's it.
And
That's it.
We're not being taught the right things.
Yes.
And that's where I blame the church.
Me too.
Let me add this. Just for what you were just saying, Dr. Fraser, and connecting the dots, and admitting that we have a problem. You know, I personally, and may I be personal here?
Yes, please.
I personally had to try to understand where my fear and unacceptance of having money started. And I had to think back. I grew up in Detroit, Michigan. And my mom's friend across the street from us, I must have been 6 years old at the time. And she was at home, she was a home mom, and she had a son my age at the age of 6. We used to call her the cookie lady because she made all the fresh cookies for the kids in the neighborhood. But she had a very overbearing husband. And her overbearing husband did not want her spending his hard-earned money, even to go to the grocery store. And so they fought all the time about money. And as kids, that was my first understanding of what money did. Fight. It means fighting. Why y'all fighting about her getting some bread and some milk from the grocery store? And I remember in the middle of the night, right across the street. If you're familiar with the homes up north, they're very close together on the street. And some of them have alleyways behind them. And we faced each other's house. And the blue light special was going on. In the middle of the night, I can see the blue light shining in the bedroom. And as small as I am, I stood up on a chair and looked out the side window and saw the cops out there. And he shot her in the head that night and killed her for getting some milk and some bread. And from that point, my mindset, my brain, my thought pattern was money brought violence. It brought fighting and unease and fear. And all of that at the age of 6 stood with me for years. Didn't understand why I didn't really want to know much about money. And then one day, out of all the years of going to school, and I didn't understand this, and then I grew up in that domestic violence situation, told you about that, jumping from city to city, house to house, trying to understand what life was really about as a young lady, right? But when I decided to go to college and I said, you know what, I got all these student loans and now I need to understand what's going on with my money. It took a lot mentally, Dee, as a kid to say, you know what, I need to break the pattern. I need to find out more. And I didn't have great teachers like you to say, hey, I want to show you what you need to know about becoming a person that owns and not just a consumer. I didn't have that. What I had was confusion of what money meant. Does that mean, you understand what I'm saying here?
Oh, absolutely.
So not even just the system, what we're going through for that, and not just what's going on in church, but when your children go through things and they witness violent situations that have something to do with economic power or having money or doing well, and even seeing other families look down on those that didn't have. You see what I'm saying? When you are a person in the family and you're doing a little bit better than the next person, and then you start to feel that uneasiness around your own family because they say, oh, you think you all that, or you think you all this, and because you're trying to have better. That's also a mental thing.
And
that's witness.
And that's why I talk about a lot of the things that we, like Dr. Fraser said, once you admit how broken you are internally, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and it's okay to be broken. That's the other thing about the Black community. We have a hard time admitting, like, I'm not well. They'll wash their car before they wash their emotions. They will buy new tires for their car before they actually get emotionally broken and say, I don't know how to love. I don't know how to be a dad. I don't know how to be a mom. I don't know how to be a brother. I don't know how, and I need help.
Right.
Help me. Right. And until you ask for that help, you're only going to stay traumatized. And that's what, and I know, because I have gone through my molestation. I have gone through military combat trauma. I have gone through deaths of friends in the street. I know what trauma feels like. So to release it is to be free.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's the only way you can grow and then learn how to be financially successful, financially wealthy, and because we're not getting it because we're so broken.
Right. I say all that to say that it's not just what's on the outside.
Right.
It's an internal thing. It can start, that mindset is an internal thing. But at some stage in our lives, with the right people around us and the right, community that's pouring in positive, then we can start fresh and say, you know what? Now that we know what happened, we've addressed that. Okay, now what do we do now?
What do we do?
Absolutely.
And now we start the strategy of collective movements. Start the strategy of educating one step at a time. Start the strategy of making sure that no person that is, even if it's a child down the street, if you know they're struggling with something, implement, hey, I'm going to do something for the kids. Do you mind they come over? Okay, cool. Because I have this tendency to call all my girlfriends and say, hey, I'm doing a session this evening. I'm going to put some pizza and some juice, and we're going to put it out. And I'm going to quiz these kids. They don't know if I'm going to quiz them anyway. But we gonna make it fun. We're going to make it fun, but we're going to talk about money. and that's what you do. That's what you do.
That's right. We really have to think of this as an addiction.
Yes.
We adopted these addictions to mitigate our pain from the denial of financial education, the denial of in our home or in our schools. And so we developed some bad habits to help us feel better about who we are so that we can live. And if you understand very simply that an addiction is a compulsive engagement in a rewarding experience despite serious repercussions.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, it's a rewarding experience, but it has serious repercussions. So an addiction sort of feels good initially, right? At least you mitigated whatever you drink to mitigate whatever pain you have, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it has serious repercussions.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to deal with this and be as empathetic and sympathetic and as therapeutic as just like we're treating an addiction. It was Dr. Amos Wilson. I don't know if you know Dr. Amos Wilson. I love Dr. Amos Wilson, but he said before he died, he said, our refusal as Black people to confront the issue of money and wealth is going to end up with our very lives being threatened as people on this earth. Right? He said that in 1994, 1 year before he died. All right, this is Amos Wilson. So we have to deal with this, and certainly the conversation we've had over the last 45 minutes or so is helping to reinforce in the minds of our brothers and sisters who might be watching why. You see, once we get the why right, the how will take care of itself. But we have to help our people understand why this is going on, right?
Absolutely.
Why almost all of us are, in a sense, addicted and victims of this. So we're not hating on anybody. What we're really saying to them, Doc, is we understand. We know why this occurred. We know that we are ill. We know that, right? And only us can mitigate and fix this illness. So I think we ought to start talking about what are some of the things that we can do right now, right? Anybody listen, things they can do right now, right? To help mitigate some of the tragedy that we are currently experiencing, because the Institute of Policy Studies said in April of 2018, you read that, they said by 2053, 10 years after the majority becomes the minority, if nothing changes among Black people in America, right, we are headed into a second slavery, right? The wealth of Black people by 2053 will be zero. Will be zero. So try to navigate a market-based economy in a democratic capitalistic society without money. You are in effect in slavery. That's really what you are, right? So we have to fix this. That's about 30 years away. So one of the overarching essence of the 75 modules in our incredible culturally specific curriculum, financial curriculum, because Black people learn differently. We're oral, visual, tactile, kinesthetic, and auditory learners. We learn differently than white folk, right?
Absolutely.
So we designed the curriculum to touch and to reach our learning style.
That's why I don't think their curriculum work for us. That's That's why I don't think that their curriculums work for us.
Yeah,
I know
that's
for
we gotta
myself.
have our own.
Well, their
Exactly.
curriculum wasn't built for us.
It wasn't built for us.
Exactly. But the essence of that 75 module curriculum is what we call the 4 pillars for the intergenerational transfer of wealth. Proverbs 13:22. A good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. Now, every Black person knows that proverb. We are outside of our own spiritual teachings. There was a front page article in USA Today last year on Black baby boomers and their money. It was on the front page, on the front damn page. Here's what it said. Black baby boomers will be the first generation of Africans in America to raise another generation of Africans in America that will not do better than them. So in the 400-year history of our people in this country, we are the only generation to raise another generation that will be worse off. We need our asses kicked.
Absolutely.
Our ancestors must be rolling over in their grave. Count me out of that. I will not participate, and you will not participate in that statistic.
Right.
So, essence of the 75, the 4 pillars for the intergenerational transfer of wealth. What are they? Very simply, first is the proper management of accumulated wealth. So we can stop reading about athletes and entertainers who earn $100 million in their career. Within 5 years of retirement, they're either broke or in bankruptcy. That is the improper management of accumulated wealth, right? So just to have the knowledge that you are an expert master plumber or master electrician or master carpenter, and that's what you do, but you have not mastered financial management and proper investment. So why don't you go out and find some brother or sister that does that? LeBron James earns $40 million a year playing basketball,
Right.
but he does not, he knows everything about basketball, right? So, but he does not manage his money. You know who manages his money? Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett knows everything about managing money. Now, I wish it was a Black guy, but Warren Buffett's okay. Well, if you're Warren Buffett, okay. If you gave Warren Buffett a basketball and a stepladder and asked him to dunk the basketball, he would miss the dunk. He knows nothing about basketball. He knows everything about money. So that's what we ought to be doing. Have enough educational savvy to find a brother or sister that they have spent their life reading and researching and knowing everything about the proper management of money. Right? Do your thing, let them do their thing. That's the first pillar for the intergenerational transfer of wealth.
Before we go, we have short minutes in this, and I want to talk about, because we have an election coming up faster and faster. Real quick, what can we do to help our community and to understand what this election means to the Black community? Dr. Fraser first.
We should have a massive Black celebrity-based get out the vote campaign.
Okay.
Massive. No more than 1 minute. Get every celebrity we can and put them on all over social media and any television that we control. A massive get out the vote campaign. And a goal of each person, each Black person being responsible for getting 20 other Black people to vote.
There you go.
Demetris?
I was going to say that you need to make sure that y'all go out in groups. Get your family together, go out in groups. Because even if you say, hey, I'm going to go here, I'm going to go there, I'm going to do it on this day, that day. You know, when you have a collective movement, that's what draws the crowd. You need a collective of everyone doing it together. And if you can do it in such a way, we can have some maybe church families go together, or possibly, you know, some colleagues all go together, maybe some sorors and fraternities go together and say, hey, we going on such and such time of day, we're going to come into masses. Hey, I mean, that's exactly what we need to do. We need to collectively do it versus just saying, I'm going to do it on one-to-one basis. Even if we have all the extra things that had on there, people need to know that pulling together as a group to do it is what's going to bring, it's going to make a difference.
D?
Amen.
I'm going to say what we're doing over at my school is we're getting even the young kids, 16-year-old, if you can vote. We are, you know, putting all kinds of stuff up on our Instagram pages, our websites and so forth for them to, you know, get interested in it. So at least they have that conversation going on in the home just to spark that maybe you know, hey, maybe one of the parents is like, you know, my son did say something about voting. Let me try to go. We also, like Ms. Curry was saying, we have, you know, just groups. We've broken it down into different groups at my school of, you know, bringing the students, you know, even into our parking lot at the back of the building, and just having little sessions to them, talking to them about how important it is, so that they can take that information and go back home and share that information with their parents. But also we have it on our, like I said, on our social media and all that other good stuff. So we're trying to hit all angles. We are definitely trying to hit, you know, as many people as we possibly can, and letting them know, and bringing, how can I say, for some of the youth, bringing the cool back into voting. Because I was told by a young man, you know, not too long ago, probably a couple months ago, and I was talking to him about voting, and he looked at me and was like, Mr. Shropshire, that doesn't matter to me. You know, I'm out here, I'm trying to do other things. You know, I'm trying to, you know, put food on my family's table, because my mom, you know, lost her job. I have 2 brothers and sisters. I'm just not interested. And I kind of had to just kind of step back. I didn't want to force it on them. You know, I just, you know, every now and then I'll call them or I'll show them different things, and just to let them know, like, hey, this is why we need to vote. This is why this is happening. You know, to the point where, as a matter of fact, 2 days ago, he came up to the school. He was like, Mr. Shropshire, I think I'm ready. All right, let's do it.
And Dee, let's get the parents to take their kids with them to vote.
Yes, ma'am.
It starts a trend. Every year I take my son with me so he can just watch us vote. It makes a huge difference when he gets to the point where he's able to vote. It is part of what we do. It is a process. It is what we need to do to look out for your best interests in the future.
One of the things I want to say, again, thank you so much for all of us for joining us on this, the health and wealth of the Black America and the community, to understand that we have the resources specifically now in these times, but you definitely cannot be hiding in your cable 200 channeled house with your 5 iPhone and not know that there's help out here that can help you gain and be rewarded with your health and wealth of education. There is no need. And the information that Dr. Fraser shared today about the generational wealth of what we are losing and where we're heading towards a slave state again, if that doesn't incite or enact you to pull yourself up and to just say, I need help. I need help to help others. We need to do that. Thank you so much, everyone. If anyone has any last words to say before we pray ourselves out, go ahead, Dee.
Hey, I just want to say thank you to everybody here. Like, I mean, I'm gonna be honest. There's been a couple times during this conversation that almost brought me to tears, to have a conversation with, you know, like-minded people, you know, folks who have been there, you know. So I'm learning. I'm sitting here, you know, if you saw me with my head down, I'm taking notes on, you know, quite a few different things you all are saying, and you all are coming from the financial standpoint, but I'm trying to figure out how I can bring that into the education system or within my school, you know, so that I can deliver that to the students. You know, so I just want to again say thank you. You know, Dr. Dyer, I thank you for bringing us together. Man, this is amazing as always, and I've just learned so much. And I will say this, being an educator, we're entering times where we have not seen this whole online kind of thing. So if we could pray for the educators and folks who are in these schools trying to make this thing happen, that would be fantastic. I appreciate that, because with everything going on, I'm gonna be honest, and I work with, you know, a lot of Black teachers. Folks are emotionally drained. Like, you know, from everything that's going on, people getting shot, letting the white boy run up the street with the gun. Good gracious, it's just, it's unbelievable. I had to write myself a letter the other day just to say, it's okay. I'm allowing you to be upset about another Black man getting shot and them letting a teenager run up the street with an assault rifle, I'm allowing you, Dee Shropshire, to be upset. It's okay. I had to say that to myself to calm me down.
Right. And in
So,
that conversation alone, imagine having to explain that to your children, your students, and the parents having to explain that to their children.
Yes, ma'am.
I remember, and I know we're getting ready to close out, Dr. Dyer, but it reminded me that just this summer, my son asked me, Mom, what is the KKK? You know, because of what was going on with the protest and them coming out and things. We had to have that hard conversation with him about the history and where we are as a people and what the mindset was in racism and things of that nature. So it's so much going on right now in 2020.
Absolutely.
Not just 2020, but just what's going on with the pandemic. It seemed like it brought so much more of people seeing it all online. It's really just more virtual now than anything. And it's conversations that we have to have, even in this economic economy.
Yeah. Let me just close by just saying, I'm always want to give you advice. So you brothers and sisters who are watching this, let me give you 3 very, very simple rules. It will take less than 1 minute that will lead you to financial freedom. You just have to follow these simple rules, right? Your rent or your mortgage should be less than what you make in 1 week for the rest of your life. Your rent or mortgage should be less than what you make in 1 week. Do not be house poor or rent poor. Number 2, only borrow money to make more money. Only borrow money to make more money. And lesson number 3, as your income increases, your cost of living should decrease or stay the same. Right?
Right.
There you go.
Can you repeat that last one?
That's right. Live below your means and invest the rest. Stop living above your means, which means you're spending more than you earn. Stop living even within your means, which means you're spending everything you're earning. Right? So what is number 1? Your rent or mortgage should be less than what you make in a week. Now, if it's 2 incomes in the family, it's less than what you make in the both of you. Okay, we understand that. Number 2, only borrow money to make more money, right? If you have to borrow money to buy a car, make sure using that car can produce money, must save money for you, okay? Right? If you're buying a home, that's okay. Make sure that the home will increase in value. You're making money. You're borrowing money to make money on not declining assets, but inclining or increasing assets. All right. So, and then the final one, as your income increases, your cost of living should decrease or stay the same. Follow those 3 rules, you will have financial freedom.
Dr. Fraser, we could do another Zoom just on those 3 things. What you think? Look, I'm trying to hold my mule. We can do another one just on those 3 right there. Let's do it.
If people just heard that, out of all what we said and joined us, hear that, do that, be that, we will get better. We will get better.
And you know, Doc, we saved the best for last, right? Because we want them to come back.
That's showmanship, right?
Absolutely. In the purse, I own the purse. Let's go.
Thank you.
Let's bow our heads. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for bringing us together. Thank you for allowing us to be speaking through your words, hearing your words with our passion, with our heart. Let us know that we are out here to protect, to honor, to educate, to defend, to cherish all people, our community, our ultimate life in itself should cherish you. And as long as we do the works we can do, we shall be free, 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 free. And Heavenly Father, in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
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 Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
A lot. Great call. Love being with you.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Thank
all
you.
Have a
right.
great weekend.
All right.
You too. Be blessed, everybody.
God bless.